So the transfer window is still on, and as usual, links everywhere. And for Arsenal, according to reports by Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein, Arsenal are very interested in signing Bayer Leverkusen's Ecuadorian centre-back. I'm talking about Piero Hincapie. And everybody's already wondering, what does Arsenal want to do with yet another defender, considering the fact that Arsenal have already signed a defender in this transfer window. I'm talking about Christian Mosquera that they brought in from Valencia. Yeah, and he's already made his debut. I mean, we saw him play against Leeds United, and of course we saw him play in the preseason. But now the issue is, why does Arsenal want to sign another defender? Now, calm down, let me explain. In the case of Piero Hincapie, of course, reports have already linked Arsenal with the exit of Jacob Kiwior, and of course reports also have it that Alexander Zinchenko might also be joining a Turkish club. So now, where does that leave Arsenal? Calm down, let me explain. So for Arsenal, they have made it clear that they would only let go of Jacob Kiwior if they get a replacement. So obviously, the move for Piero Hincapie is actually tied with exit of Jacob Kiwior, and it's a smart one by Arsenal. They are not waiting for Jacob Kiwior to leave, then they start scrambling for a replacement, which could see them, buying an undesired player, out of panic, or leave that particular position, leave it void, and then something happens to a defender, then Arsenal becomes short, then he derails the season ambition. They don't want that. That's why they are going for a player that they know that will actually fit in. They are looking for a square peg in a square hole, a round peg in a round hole, and that's what Piero Hincapie is. Because now, let's break down Jacob Kiwior's involvement, what he does for us now. Jacob Kiwior is a player that can play left centre-back position. We've seen him do that. He did that in the absence of Gabriel last season, where he started in the Champions League matches and, of course, the Premier League matches. And, of course, he can play left-back. We've seen him do that in the absence of, the likes of Jurgen Timber, the likes of Tomiyasu, the likes of Zinchenko, and even before the discovery of Miles Lewis Kelly. So, obviously, he can do a job there. But that is not his natural position. So, now, if Jacob Kiwior leaves, that means Arsenal will actually be losing a player that can fit in two positions. Arsenal will be losing his talent and his versatility, so they need to have him replaced. Now, let's talk about Zinchenko. If Zinchenko plays predominantly for Arsenal as a left back, so if he leaves, that leaves Arsenal short in the left back position. In that same left back position, Arsenal have actually lost two players in the course of this transfer, in course of the transfer window. Kieran Tierney left on a free transfer. We knew he was going to leave. And Tomiyasu, had his contract virtually terminated owing to his niggling injury. So that means, as from the left back position, Arsenal have already lost two players, and they could be losing an extra one in Jacob Kiwior, and even a further extra one in Zinchenko. If Zinchenko leaves, that's four players gone. So that leaves Arsenal incredibly short. So now, thinking about bringing Piero Hincapie obviously makes a world of sense, because he can play centre back and he can play left back position. Yes, you can argue that, but Arsenal brought in Christian Mosquera. Why do they need a Piero Hincapie again? Yes, Christian Mosquera can play a right back. We have seen him play right back. He did it against Leeds United. He can play centre back, right centre back, as a backup to William Saliba. But can he play left centre back? I think even if he can, that is not his natural position. And if you look at the dynamics of a team, there is a reason why most managers want a right-sided centre back who will be a right footer, and a left-sided centre back who will be a left footer. There's a reason they want it, because he helps them play out well from the back. He helps the dynamics. But the moment you now play two right-footed centre backs, it becomes a problem. I'm not saying they won't do the job of defending, but it might affect the dynamics going forward. And I think that is what Arteta is trying to avoid. That's why he wants to bring in a left-sided centre back who can actually play as a centre back, and of course, as an icing on the cake, he can also play as a left back. And I think that's where Piero Hincapie comes in. He's played both positions and played it well. He's good with his passing range. He's aerially dominant, and we know Arteta likes his defenders being aerially dominant, because he wants a threat in the opposition side when it comes to set pieces, and he also wants ability to defend set pieces in your own side, on your own tough. So I think that's key for him. And going forward, the guy's got bursts of speed. He can move at at frightening speed. He's good with his crosses. He's a good tackler. So I think he would be that classic left back going forward, which will of course help. Yes, I know we've got Kiwior, I know we've got Miles Kelly, who personally I feel that Arteta might be thinking of shoehorning him back to his natural position, which is central midfield. Yes, in the central midfield position is that position we are not really well staffed at the moment. I think we are short on numbers because yes, in the transfer window, Arsenal brought in 2 midfielders. Yes, we lost one, brought in 2. Even if Partey had not left, Arsenal will still assign Zubimendi. So yes, Arsenal brought in a Christian Norgard. So that means that leaves us with 4 central midfielders: Christian Norgard, Zubimendi, Declan Rice, and of course Mikel Merino. But I feel that we still need an extra body there, and I think that's where Miles Kelly comes in, because he can actually play as a left back and a central midfielder. And I think just like Ethan Nwaneri, that Arteta said no, he wants to start playing him in the central attacking midfield position, that Odegaard position. I think he wants to do the same for Miles Kelly, draft him back to the midfield, to the central midfield, where he's naturally at the way is his preferred position, while he can also do a job at left back position. Of course, the beauty of the team of the squad is we have got versatility, we have got quality, we have got quantity across the board. And yes, when you are fighting on 4 fronts, you need enough versatility. You actually need enough options. So that way, because fatigue is going to come in, a lot of these players are internationals, which means that they'll go international break, they'll be tired, they could get injured and all of that. So you need adequate replacement, so that when your preferred first choice is not there, whoever steps in, there's a step in, but there's no step down. So you need that quality, and I think Arsenal have actually done well in that regard. And yes, I stumbled on something, and what's that thing? I stumbled on a compilation. We did a breakdown of the transfer fee, the transfer expenses of clubs, and the actual squad value. Now, what this means is that when teams buy players, the players they've bought actually, you spend money. It's just like stocks. You can buy a stock could trade at 100 naira and you buy at 100 naira. It doesn't mean that when you come back in a month's time or a week's time, the value of the stock will remain the same. The value of the stock is, if at that point you choose to sell, that is the amount you will sell for. So I think that's it. And for Arsenal were of course in the first position, because the money expended on transfers has actually been close to 900 million pounds, but the actual squad value is over £1 billion, close to 1.1 billion, which means that Arsenal had a surplus of over 300 million pounds. And what does that tell me? It tells me that Arsenal have actually been spending well. It tells me that the players they've been buying have been good value for money. It tells me that the players have actually improved. They've actually bedded well into the team. They've actually taken the team forward. They've actually improved as players and have actually helped the team. So you see players like Ben White, his value must have gone up. Saliba obviously, Gabriel obviously, Miles Kelly obviously, Ethan Nwaneri. You talk about Bukayo Saka. You talk about even Mikel Merino. His value must have gone up. I mean, after he played a striker, auxiliary striker, emergency striker last season, and he scored goals, his value must have gone up. Even David Raya, everybody's value has gone up, and I think Arsenal have done fantastic business with the transfer window. They've done really well. They've built a squad that is competitive in the now, and of course that have actually giving the club a good financial footing, because yes, there's always been the argument that Arsenal sells badly. Still date, our record is still Oxlade-Chamberlain that went to Liverpool years ago. We've not really done well. Anelka is still Arsenal's second highest sale, followed by Adebayo. I mean, that tells you that when you see clubs selling for 50, 70, 80 million, you keep asking yourself that when will Arsenal start selling like that too? But I think that in Arsenal's current squad, we have players that can actually go for over 100 million, almost even 150 million, 160 million, if Arsenal decides to cash in. And I think that's pretty good. It's good going forward. We are not there yet, but definitely we are not where we used to be. So for me, I'm definitely proud of Arsenal. And of course, I'm not going to review the other teams on that list. Of course, every Premier League side is actually there, from Manchester United, Chelsea. They have their own different positions and the squad value. I'm not going to say that. I could post it here so you guys can comment and we can actually discuss about it. So that's it basically for me. And what do you think? Do you think Arsenal should hold on to Kiwior and Zinchenko and let go of the idea of bringing in Hincapie? And also on the financial note, I didn't have this because Zinchenko earns over £150,000 per week. I think Kiwior earns in the excess of 50,000. So when you put all of this together, you're having almost £200,000 per week. But if they let go of these guys, Hincapie currently at Leverkusen earns a little over 50,000 euros. So even if Arsenal decides to give him a raise, maybe 200,000, maybe 70 or 80,000 pounds, they will still be saving over £100,000, which I think is smart business. Let go of two players that deserve to play, and they will go to another club and play regularly, so they are not disgruntled. They are not disgruntled on the bench, and bring in a player that is willing to play, and of course that is not earning as much as the two of them will earn combined. So I think it's a smart business, both on the sporting side, because he comes in and he fills obvious positions. He further strengthens the team. He doesn't, even though the exit of some players would have depleted the team, you have brought in the player to shore up that depletion. I think it's a smart move, and for me, I think Arsenal will be making a smart decision, bringing in Hincapie and letting go of both Zinchenko and Jacob Kiwior. You can hit me up. Let's discuss. What are your thoughts? What do you think about this likely, transfer? Because the transfer window will be closing in a couple of days, and I think Arsenal will be wrapping up, making that decision. The medicals of Jacob Kiwior to Porto is still on hold. Yes, they've agreed everything, but they are just pending that medical, pending when they would, be able to sort out deal with for Hincapie. Yes, they've agreed personal terms with the Ecuadorian, but there are still a lot of things to discuss with Leverkusen. What Arsenal are offering is a loan deal with an obligation to buy, and I think Leverkusen will be looking for maybe a little bit of more security in that transfer. So let's see how that pans out. That's it. So till I come again and with another, discussion, be it on transfer, be it on injury, be it on tactics, be it on review or preview of matches. See you guys. Ciao.